Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October meeting of the Trumbull Town Council. Would everybody kindly rise for a moment of silence and recitation of the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Michael Buswell.
Here.
Mary Isaac.
Here.
Michael Colohan.
Here.
Bill Mecca.
Here.
Ann Sather.
Here.
Jennifer Winchell. Veronica Lenzen.
Here.
Richard Wolf.
Here.
Jason Marsh.
Here.
Anthony Dorsey.
Here.
Ashley Gaudiano.
Here.
Carl Massaro.
Here.
John Foreman.
Here.
Joe Pifko.
Here.
Thomas Broderick.
Here.
Joy Cologne.
Here.
Steve Lemoyne. Kelly Malazzi.
Here.
Tony Cinto. Thomas Whitmore.
Here.
And Nicole Satin.
Here.
All right. Councilman, you have a copy of the minutes from September. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve minutes from September.
Second.
Any motions, modifications? If not, can we accept those minutes by unanimous consent? Okay, no objection. They're approved. Thank you. Next on the agenda is a public comment. We generally have public comment for any and all items on our agenda for this evening. In addition, I'll be calling for public hearings on a couple of proposed ordinances. They'll be conducted separately by Town Charter rule. If you want to speak to any of those particular items, you can wait till I call those items to the floor and call for that public hearing, or you can speak momentarily in the general public comment. Okay, so I am going to ask for public comment on any matter on our agenda this evening. We had only one sign up for Resolution TC 30-172. Mr. Baldwin, you can speak now if you like, or you can wait.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name is Raymond Baldwin Jr. I live at 700 Booth Hill Road in Trumbull. I'm a Marine Corps Vietnam veteran and serve as the town's veteran service officer for the town of Trumbull. I'm here this evening to speak in support of passage of resolutions TC 30-172 and TC 30-173, which would approve the local option property exemption for disabled veterans and their surviving spouses. I have some very personal reasons to be here this evening. Sitting in the audience behind me tonight are the widows of two friends of mine, Mary Liggins and Sarah Layden. The passage of this bill would allow Mary and her daughter Elizabeth, who is also here this evening, to remain in their home, a home that has been in her husband's family for over 80 years. Mary's late husband, Fred, was a friend of mine for over 50 years and was one of the only few 100% permanently and totally disabled veterans in the town of Trumbull. Fred grew up in Trumbull, was a star athlete in 3 sports in high school and college, and he could have avoided military service, but his love of his country and sense of duty moved him to enlist in the United States Army during the height of the Vietnam War. Fred served with distinction as an armored cavalry officer and received several decorations for bravery. His men loved him and he loved them. Though he survived his tour of duty without being injured by the enemy, he did not survive the ravages of Agent Orange, and for the last 6 years of his life, he suffered horribly. It was painful to watch him wither away from a strapping 6'4", 250-pound man to a thin, frail shell of his former self. Were it not for the unwavering and tenacious care and advocacy of his wife, Mary, he would have never lived to see his only daughter, Elizabeth, graduate high school and enter college. Unfortunately, Fred has not been the only Trumbull serviceman and friend of mine to succumb to the Agent Orange related diseases in recent years. Former decorated U.S. Marine and former Republican town councilman Jim Grutzmacher, whose wife is here tonight, and Peter Spaltoff, a U.S. Army veteran and former Trumbull police officer, both passed away after suffering horribly. The pain of watching a spouse endure the ravages of these Agent Orange-related cancers and caring for them has been exacerbated by the financial struggles that follow. You have an opportunity tonight to help with their struggle. Everyone clamors to support our servicemen and women on Memorial Day and Veterans Day, and that's fine. But we often forget about the extraordinary sacrifices made by their spouses and families. By voting to pass this resolution tonight, you're sending a clear message to our veterans and their families that you care about them and appreciate their service, not just on holidays, but 365 days a year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baldwin. Is there anybody else who would like to comment on any item on our agenda? Okay, just a reminder, I will open a public hearing for the other ordinances as we get to them later on. So for now, I will close public comment, and we'll move forward with our agenda. First item tonight is a recognition, and we are all very fortunate to live in a community, a very caring community, which has just excellent public service in our emergency services. So I would like to bring forward this evening Officer James Soda, Paramedic Aidan Verlick, and EMT John Wells. If you would come forward, please. These gentlemen were involved in a life-saving effort, and I'm going to ask them to discuss their role in this and bring up First Selectman Tesoro as we have the presentation. Chief, would you like to tell everybody what happened?
Yes.
Oh, that's true. That makes a little more sense.
Well, I can back up to just about a year ago where we had a very tragic call in town. It was a medical call that some of the officers responded to at a local restaurant, and somebody was choking. That person unfortunately passed away from that incident. So fast forward after that, one of our officers, actually who I believe might be here tonight, Sam Fortunato, did a little research and found out that there was a company called LifeVac, and LifeVac sells small medical devices that help remove items that might be lodged in your throat. We trained all of the officers in the department with them. They carry them in their patrol cars every day, every shift. And just about 3 weeks ago, Officer Soda and other officers responded to a home in Trumbull where a 10-month-old baby girl was choking. Her mom was there and her dad both actually happened to be in the medical field themselves. And Officer Soda was the first officer to get there. He ran into the home, brought the medical devices with him, recognized that the baby was choking, had lost its color. He deployed the device, dislodged some of the food that was caught in the throat of the baby. Baby started to breathe on her own, and her color returned. EMS got there right after, or right with Officer Soda, and they dislodged through another type of medical device the rest of the food that was trapped in her throat. She was transported to the hospital. I think she then went to Yale Hospital to be checked out, and she's perfectly healthy. So if it wasn't for the rapid response of the officer and the EMS that day, and the ability of him to have that device in his hand, this could have been a much different situation. So rapid response to these calls by our officers and the EMS, and the rapid thinking and the work that they did is beyond admirable. And I just think that we owe a debt of gratitude to Officer Soda and the EMS people that were there. I've talked to Jim Soda. I've talked with Officer Soda more than several times since this occurred, and I can tell you he is so humble. And he said, "Chief, I don't need any recognition. This is what I was trained to do. And I would do it exactly the same way as I did it that day, tomorrow, and the next day throughout his career." And I can't speak for all the EMS people. I'm sure it's the same for them. But I can tell you, when I speak about an officer like Jim Soda in our police department, I am 100% behind the way he conducts himself 8 hours a day. When he comes to work, I know I get a full 8 hours, good hard work out of him, and he's a fine human being, which goes beyond the fact that he's a good police officer. So thank you, Jim.
Director, did you have comments? Sure.
So just to echo what Chief Lombardo said, I mean, this is a team effort, and you know, all of us working together led to a positive outcome. And I know we trade for this sort of thing, and we do these calls every day, but we don't do these types of calls every day. And this is truly one that kind of makes you dig down to the levels of training that maybe you haven't done in a while. And I've known these guys for a long time, and Trumbull PD, Aiden and John, you guys consistently show up, and we're all pretty lucky. And if anything happens to me, I know I'm in a good spot too. So thank you very much.
So just on behalf of the town, I speak for the town council, for Chairman Massaro, you know, there's just no words. As all of us here who are parents, you know, all of us have little children, lucky enough to grandchild about the same age as that little girl. When I heard that what happened, my heart just sunk really into it was just incredible that you were able to save that little girl, because we all know that life is precious and you can lose it so quickly. So for you to be able to respond that quickly and save that little girl's life, all three of you, there's just no words to say. I'm sure you all agree with me that we all can feel what that would feel like for all of us in the same position, right? No doubt about it. So really, on behalf of the town, thank you. So just let's give them another round of applause. Your family here?
I have a daughter here.
You have your bring them up. Let's have your James Soda family. Come on up. We'll take a picture. Chief, come back up, please. I would just recommend to everyone that you get that device in your house. Right, it's that important. And it's inexpensive as well. Every penny.
That's LifeVac. I can also recommend that if you have an opportunity to take at least one one little session on CPR training. I did it recently, and you may have seen it on TV. You don't want to see it in real life. But it's actually very interesting. The idea is to prolong the life of the victim by keeping the circulation going, because there's still oxygen in the bloodstream. And the idea is just to keep it going long enough until the technicians can arrive and really apply the medical treatment to save the life. So two things to think about. All right, we will move on to our discussion items this evening. The first one is the Hillcrest Middle School Building Committee. We'll get an update from its chair and vice chair, Joe Costa and Andy Lubin. Welcome, gentlemen.
Green,
Yes, if you don't mind.
green.
Okay, got this thing right here. How you doing? Sorry. I don't see anything. Should come up.
There it is.
There we go. Okay, great. What's that at the bottom there? There it goes. Are we ready, Carl?
Floor is yours.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Good to be here. My name is Joe Costa. I'm the chairman of the new Hillcrest Middle School project. I also have with me my vice chair, Andrew Lubin. We're here tonight to provide a quarterly progress update report on the new Hillcrest Middle School project in accordance with Section 14 of the Building Committee rules. The Building Committee has been meeting since its formation every other week. The meeting and the agendas have been posted in accordance with the rules. Before we start our presentation tonight, I would like to recognize two additional members of our Building Committee who are here tonight and are also on Town Council. Have with us Ann Sather on the left and Bill Mecca in the back row on the right. Thank you, guys. They just can't get enough of public service. Thank you very much for doing that. I also would like to recognize the entire Building Committee. It really is a fine committee. I've worked with many committees in my professional career, and I've got to tell you, you guys are one of the best. So thank you very much, and we're lucky to have such dedicated group of men and women serving the town. So, background, we were formed last year. Since we were formed, we have hired a design team, AE design team, Taisu Kim Partners out of Hartford. Firm very experienced, done a lot of schools throughout Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. We've also hired a construction manager, Bismarck Construction out of Bridgeport, Greg and Greg Jr., both town of Trumbull residents. I've also done a lot of projects with that particular CM. Very happy to have them. We also hired an owner's program manager, Arcadis, out of Middletown. Also a highly experienced school construction team. And then as of last week, we've made recommendations to hire a owner's sustainable, commissioning agent. The name of the firm is Sustainable Engineering Solutions out of Rocky Hill. Also a firm that I'm very familiar with, who I've done a number of projects with. So we really do have a solid team really serving this project. And I've got to tell you that the work products do show it so far, and I must say we're doing quite well. In addition to hiring these consultants, we've just finished and approved our schematic design phase, and that's what we're going to be spending most of our evening tonight talking about. As you recall, schematic is really the first of 3 design phases for a typical architect. The second one is design development. The third one is the construction documents just before we go to bid. So we just finished the first third of the design, and the team just made a presentation, and as of a couple weeks ago, we've allowed them to go into design development. That does not mean the building is completely 100% designed or completely worked out. There's still a lot of design work to be done and a lot of detailing to be done, and we're looking forward to seeing those drawings develop over the next few months. The other thing, so for tonight's agenda, we have a pretty tight agenda, but it will pretty much outline what's been talked about, what's been decided. We're going to start with the site design. A lot of the work that the architects and the engineers have done thus far are a function of the site and the fact that there's a building, a school already on that property we have to keep operational and safe. The site will then show you how the floor plans developed and how the floor plans take advantage of the slope of the property as well as the orientation. We're going to show some very early exterior elevations and some massing, so you can see how the architects are thinking about how the building is going to sit and its relationship not only to the site, but also to the local topography that is in the region. You'll see a couple of very early interior environment views, a couple of perspectives. They're quite nice, but they do give the sense of what the inside of this middle school may look like. And we'll talk a little bit about the budget, and then we'll give you an update on the schedule, and then we'll give you some time for questions at the very end. So with that, we're going to start with the site. So just to orient everybody, this is Daniels Farm Road. This is the road that brings you into the school campus. The existing middle school is right about here. You can kind of see it ghosted on the site plan. The building footprint is down here just south of the end of the building. Obviously, would have been nicer to be able to build the school on the old footprint and disturb less of the site, but we were told we have to keep the existing school operational. There was no place for the middle schoolers to go. So we looked at really 3 different locations. We looked at a location here at the west. It was a little bit too crowded, didn't have enough space around it. We looked at this area here, but it would disturb other ball fields and it wouldn't give us that sort of long driveway, which I'll talk about in a second. And so we ended up putting the building really at the south end of the property, because really that's the only practical place for the building footprint while maintaining the existing building. This particular footprint does a lot of things and really helps the design. One of the important features to remember is that the site from about the end of the old school south slopes off quite sharply, and the architects have taken advantage of the topography to design a school that is kind of split, and I'll show you how that works. But what's good about it is that by pushing the building deep into the site, what you get are these parking areas with a very long driveway that allows for a great deal of stacking and that avoidance of that backup of traffic onto Daniels Farm Road. So the way the site works and what is proposed is that you have, in essence, 2 loops. You have a bus loop here with parking in the middle for staff, and then you have a parent loop with parking for visitors and parents. So you have these two independent loops, and you have these two very long driveways that extend all the way back to Daniels Farm Road. So what that does is it gives us plenty of stacking area for both buses and for parents. And the biggest problem really is in the afternoon for pickup when everybody, shows up at the same time and is either waiting or, trying to get in and out as quickly as possible. So buses stack here, students walk in straight through the front door here, parents stack here, drop off, take off, or they stack up, or they can also park in the parking lot to pick up the children. So it works quite well. There are a couple of other things about the site. There is a field that will be built here in between these two driveways once the building is demolished and removed. There's also another potential field over here on the west where the old parking lot for the existing school sits. And there's also a potential for some pickleball courts that we're treating as an alternate to the program. That may or may not stay in the final design depending on how our numbers work out. The far end of the project is a service area that remains, and then we have several baseball fields, softball fields, multi-purpose fields that are all organized along this edge. And a lot of that stuff does remain. There are service driveways and pathways all the way around the school for security and also for use by children. The site is really quite wonderful because you have these fantastic views out of the school, and you'll see how the architects have taken advantage of that by having a substantial amount of glass taking advantage of the views, and it's really quite nice. And we'll go back to the questions at the end. So the building plan, and I apologize, it's a little muddy, but I'll explain how the plan works. Here's the bus loop that I just explained, one here, and here's the parent loop, and there's a pathway here that brings you straight into the front door. This particular design is quite well laid out, and the way it works is there are really two parts of the building. There's this front part, which we call the public and the noisy side. And then there's a more quiet academic side, the back of the property, and it's all organized down this main street that links top of the site with this part of the site. The main street splits the front of the building into two components. On the right is a multi-purpose black box theater with a kitchen and a cafeteria, and the cafeteria has views to the east. You'll see a big window wall. On the other side is a gymnasium with service spaces and an auxiliary gym on this side. And then there are support spaces here. The front of the school has a administrative office. So there are eyes directly on what's happening with the drop-off area. The nurse's station is down here at the end. And then on this side are tech ed, different fabrication shops, things like that. And a very interesting feature of the building is a planetarium. If you remember the ed specs, they had a planetarium that was going to be used not only by the school, not only by other schools in town, but also potentially for after-hours use by different groups. And the beauty of this particular design is that there's a secondary entrance that allows that space to be used without having to come through the front door or open the entire building. So it really is quite convenient. I talked about this, this main street. So this main street is a level pathway. You see that it has different events as you go down the path. But what it does is it separates the noisy from the quiet, and the C-shaped piece down here is our academic part of the building. So the school consists of 2 teams per grade. There are 3 grades. So there are 6 of these wings. And the way this particular plan works is because the grade slopes from here down, the architects were able to make the connection at mid-level. So they've got the school organized by floor. So the bottom floor, which is one level below here on grade, is the 6th grade, the middle grade is the 7th grade, and the upper floor is the 8th grade. And as I said, they're broken up into 2 teams per floor. So it works very, very well. Within each team, there are some support spaces like science and breakout areas and other kinds of spaces that you typically see in an academic setting. There are some bigger spaces. There's a multi-purpose space on this end as well. And in the middle, this white box here is actually a media center or library. So you have these classrooms that wrap around the 2-story library space. Again, that's part of the quiet part of the building, and it's quite effective. And you'll see a couple of views of what that may look like. All right? So the other floor plans are very similar. You have the same kind of layout repeated on those levels as well. And again, it's a very efficient layout. It's repetitive. It's very easy to understand and very easy to find your way through the building, which is a nice feature to have for any school. There are spaces that lead out, like, for example, this media center has a terrace on this side. There is a small terrace here that has a amphitheater that leads up the slope. So there's a desire from the educators to have access to this fantastic site, not just for a gymnasium, but for different times during the day. So it's really quite good. The exterior, so this is the front of the building, or the north elevation. So this is the elevation that people see when they come to the driveway. And the front door is right about here. It does have a small canopy, and we've been talking to them about extending the canopy out and perhaps even teeing it to give a little bit more cover to the students and parents who arrive at the building, but we're still playing with that. On the right-hand side, you see that there's this low slope. On the left, there's another low slope, and then it comes back. So this undulating roof is reminiscent of the hillsides around Trumbull, and it begins to create this soft profile to the building. The materials are durable masonry materials at the bottom, and the top is much lighter materials. Above the gym is glass. Above the black box is a solid. And then we have the cafeteria at the very end facing east, which is, the top of it is glass, and you'll see the end facade is glass. So it really becomes a fantastic space for lunch and activities for children to use. Really going to be quite nice. This is the east elevation, the other side. When you facing the building on the left side, so you'll see here's here's the cafeteria on this end. You see that glass facade. This particular piece here, I forgot to mention, is the top of the planetarium. The planetarium is a 30-foot dome. You don't read it here. This is a weatherproof wrapper of the dome, but inside here is a tilted dome, a state-of-the-art product. It's going to be quite nice. And that entrance I was mentioning before, that secondary entrance, that after-hours entrance, is right there. Here's the other side of that thing. And by the way, the top of that may change as we design this building, but that's what we have right now. So we have cafeteria, and then this is this is a 2-story multi-purpose space. They call that flex classroom. That's what they call that space. And then behind there is the corridor and a stair, and you'll see that later. The classroom ends are very conventional with punched openings, and you'll see that the architects have broken up this 3-story with the 2 different color materials. You see that there's a full story of grade change from the upper part, which is that noisy public part, and it's down 1 story to the academic wing. And you can see that the grade follows that, and there's a step up here. Okay. Again, the roof is a metal roof that's sloped. This one's a little bit different in that the facades are canted just slightly to give that impression of a slightly sloped roof. This is the south elevation, so this is the furthest away from the front door that you could have. Again, there's that slope roof product with the punched openings with the lower band, and these are the actual stairs that are organized at the end of each of those neighborhoods. They're not just they act as fire stair, but they also are full of light and quite frankly, they're safer than a solid stair because you can see what's happening in those spaces. They're not hidden areas. And this is the west elevation. This is the other side, and what you see here is the media center, and then flanked by the ends of those 2 classroom wings. Here's the other side of the planetarium, and this is the end of the gym. Okay, so it's got a very simple but strong, bold lines. And I'll show you what it looks like 3-dimensionally. So here's the bus loop that I mentioned before. Here's the parent loop. Here's the walkway through. See, there's a sidewalk here. Here is the planetarium. The front door is here with a little canopy. Like I said, we're going to probably ask for a canopy to come out a little bit, and we'll get a price for that. And then there's that undulating roof form here, the glass end of the cafeteria, and then back here are the quiet academic wings. Yeah.
Was just looking at the undulating roof, like any consideration of snow and ice accumulating in the nadirs of that
You're
undulation?
talking about these valleys?
Yes.
Yeah, those valleys will be sloped to direct ice and water away from them. Yeah. That's a detail that we haven't got there yet, but certainly. Now, what you're not seeing on these roof plans will be PV arrays. They're likely to be photo collectors on these roofs. We haven't gotten there yet, so that's part of it. And naturally, there'll be gutters and drainage and other things associated with it. Now, what happens with these roof forms is they do provide a place for mechanical equipment to be hung underneath them. So they're not only to shed ice and water away, but also they do provide some 3-dimensional space for mechanical equipment. Okay? Yeah.
I have a question about the glass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice at the beginning, but over time, what's the lifespan of the weather stripping around it? It seal break, the seal, and it gets cloudy in the middle, that kind of stuff. Because that'll happen over time, obviously.
Yeah, I'll tell you from my personal experience, professional experience, the glazing systems and the windows technology has gone a long, long way. It's not like the old days where you started having failures in 10 years. We expect this window system to last more like 25 to 30 years. And, you'll get fantastic use out of it. The glazing is going to be high performance. One of the features of this building is that we're designing it for net zero energy, which means that we have a very robust exterior, highly insulated, and also very weather tight, so there's not a lot of leakage, air leakage. And we're expecting to achieve net zero on this building. So it's going to be not only high performance exterior, but also high performance energy. So that'll be a nice feature. So you won't get that big electric bill that you guys are used to paying.
Hey, Joe,
Yeah.
I think Jen is going to ask about the music room.
Yes.
No, you're not.
I was going to.
Pipes.
I'm sorry.
I am confused about the gymnasium and its placement and the access to the outside and the fields that most of the children are using every day, all day.
Yeah, just so that I'm clear, the gym is here and access is out here. So
Yeah,
you're concerned with the length of that?
Yeah,
Yeah. What we're going to do with that is we're going to tape off the length and then check how much time a child would take to walk down there.
well, what do they walk past?
What do they walk? They walk past this black box and past the cafeteria.
And so if you have lunch and gym at the same time, that's a crush. That is a mess.
Let me do this. Let me speak to the architects about that and see what their thoughts are. But I've got to tell you, the length of this is not excessive as far as the time required to get out to the fields. And they're middle schoolers, right? So they're not the little
Well, I
ones.
teach them. I work in
So you know.
I know.
So you know.
I
Okay,
know.
Okay. Now, but like I said before, some of this stuff is going to develop and evolve. So when we show this plan the next time around, you may see some differences, okay?
I have a question. If I
Yeah, hi.
Good.
Oh,
Can I borrow your mic? Does it go over above the?
I'll turn it.
Wait, I'll just come up here. So just a quick question about the glass again. Security
Yep.
issues. Is that treated with this? I don't know what it is any longer. It used to be the 3M
Yep.
treatment. So if you want to answer that.
Security is a very important topic for schools. And when I talk about security to clients and to committees, I don't like telling exactly what we're doing, but I can tell you this, that we do have a family of systems, including perimeter cameras and other methods to address potential intrusion. Okay, so the short answer, Vicky, is yes. But I can tell you afterwards precisely what we're planning on doing. I don't want to tell the world what we're doing.
Completely
Okay.
sure that you don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
tell about everything.
Yeah, the Connecticut Security Council is got some very specific guidelines that we have to follow, and then there's other ways of making sure that schools are very, very safe. And there's a whole family of things that will happen if there's an intrusion. Okay? Yeah.
Joe, when you're in preliminary planning like this, when does the fire marshal come in? Have they already seen this and approved this, or are we not to that level yet?
Yeah, so what's been happening is the design team has been meeting regularly with Fire Marshal, Building Committee, and other stakeholders in town. It's not a final design, but as they develop the early sketches, they've been having conversations. So if you notice, there's a big walkway and driveway around the project, and that was really for rescue and for fire service.
And I think that leads to my question about the west side of the building. I didn't know if there was going to be fire access. It looks like it might be pushed up to the wooded area. I didn't know if there was going to be an emergency vehicle lane down the west side.
Yeah, typically fire marshals want to get around the entire building, plus, emergency vehicles if there's some supervision. I can't tell you exactly what they have there, but I know they've had lots of conversations with local stakeholders. What we don't want to do is finish the design and then discover that we have to add a bunch of stuff to the building.
Thanks.
Yeah, okay. All right, so this is the other side of the building, the east side facing the ball fields, and you can see that driveway piece that we have here. That will slope down. And, as part of the state requirements, we do have to make the entire building accessible, not just inside the building, but also outside. So every amenity outside the building, every ball field, every pathway, all have to be accessible. And so this design will do that, and it is a challenge with a sloped site such as this. I mentioned before a little amphitheater, so that's this piece right here. So it kind of joins the lower level with the upper level. Architects are still working out doorways, openings, and things like that, but it's sort of a nice feature to have in a school. There is a outdoor dining patio outside the cafeteria. Whether that's used by the middle schoolers or not is going to be clearly an operational question, but we do like when children have a safe place to eat lunch or to go out there and read a book. Sort of nice to have. Okay. Here's a view inside the building. I mentioned that amphitheater here. This is the part of the building that has the cafeteria on it. And what you're seeing here is Main Street, right? So you're looking, standing pretty much at the intersection between the one-story section and the three-story section at mid-level. And from experience, we know students love to sit and get views outside, and they love those bridge-like structures in school. And so this is going to be kind of a nice feature of the building, and it kind of makes the connection between the front and the back that much better. And you can see the width of this Main Street is quite generous. So as children are moving in groups, north-south, there's going to be plenty of space for them not to be bumping next to each other. Okay. Now, this is another view. This is a little bit further deep in the building, and what you see here is the two-story media center leading out to that outdoor space. You can see that's a two-story space. There is a glass wall that looks down on it. And what the architects have done is created this monumental stair that connects the three levels in the academic wing to encourage children to use the stairs instead of elevators. We do like that, and it's sort of a nice feature because there's little pockets of space that they've designed it where kids can sit, read, and I think they check their emails a lot, or they look at their phones a lot nowadays. If it's still being allowed, it's not being allowed. So there it is. Kind of a nice space, and you can see there's natural light coming in from the top as well as from the borrowed light from the windows. So that's the architecture. Are there any more questions before we talk about the numbers? Yeah.
Thank you. A couple things.
Yep.
Square footage wise,
Yep.
compared to our present building that we have, is this larger, the same, smaller?
I suspect it's bigger. I can tell you this building is about 140,000 square feet. I don't know what the existing middle school is. I suspect it's probably smaller than 140. This particular building is designed for about 826 students.
Okay.
I don't know what the existing Hillcrest is.
Okay, no, that, wondering the student body, that was my second question.
yeah.
Third question, music and visual arts,
Oh, yes.
where is that?
Yes, I apologize. I didn't talk about that. Very important. That's at this end of the building right here. There's a performing space here, also known as a black box, but just keep in mind that black box does not have to be black or a box. There is opportunities for natural light, just hasn't been designed yet. But the music rooms are organized on this end of the site so that they can get into that space really quickly. Typically, those music rooms act as green rooms as children are waiting to perform or come on stage or do their thing.
And the black box, how large is that area, or how much seating is there?
Well, I can tell you the space, according to the ed specs, is 3,500 square feet, which is roughly half the size of the gym. So it gives you the sense of how big that is. Now, the number of seats all depends on what kind of seats you have, whether
Right.
they're loose, whether they're bleacher seats, whether they're retractable. The architects haven't really figured that out. They're showing some kind of indication of seats, but the final number of seats is still being worked out. I think the ed spec showed around 600 seats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the point brought up about the gym classes, using the fields
Yeah.
as opposed to disrupting, and I can't tell with the pictures how wide the hallways are or Main Street is.
Yeah.
It would really be maybe something to consider to do a flip-flop of the black box in the gym, so the gym is on the fields side of the building. And you're just sort of flip-flopping the front of the building, whatever the look, so that the gym would be to the left as you're looking at the front of the building. And that way, you wouldn't have classes of 160 kids, 4 gym teachers, 30 kids a class, 120 kids coming down what looks to be at least 100 feet of hallway. I don't know, I'm looking at practicality, and I'm not seeing practicality in that part of the design.
Okay.
Just, thank you.
No, we'll mention that to the architectural team. We'll ask them to take a look at that. Yep. Any other questions about the architecture before? Oh, yes.
Thank you. So the black box, that's theater with seating also in that space, and that's where music class will be in the same area as theater?
No.
Stage.
So what happens is you have music classrooms here at the
Oh,
bottom.
okay. Yep.
And then this is really performance, but it's really a multi-purpose space because it's got a flat floor and loose or movable seats. You could use it for a number of different functions. You could do theater in the round, there could be music, there could be small performances, could be book sale, could be bake sale, could be whatever seasonal activity you want to put there.
Thank
Now,
you.
just keep in mind, it's not designed to hold the entire enrollment, right? You're not going to get close to 900 students in there, plus teachers and staff. The gymnasium is really designed for that function, right? So if you're going to have a full school assembly, it's likely to be in the gym space. Okay, just to make that clear to everybody. Yeah.
Joe, if you're putting the new fields in front of the school too, they can also go out the gym, the front of the school, right? Not go
Yes.
all the way to the side, to the Trumbull High side of the campus.
Yeah, you've got access here that brings you right to this ball field, and there's also, remember, that ball field straight ahead. So, beauty of this site is you've got plenty of ball fields. A lot of ball fields. You got baseball, softball, soccer. It's nice. Nice site. Yeah.
And does the planetarium connect interior to the building or only via an exterior?
Yes, yes. So the primary access to the planetarium is down this corridor, and there's a small little access point here, and it gets you into that space. So the outside is really a secondary after-hours connection. The primary way of getting in there is through this door right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oops, 2 quick ones. Number of lavatories, has that increased since, I know it's an issue that was brought up before.
Yes, the lavatories themselves will be conveniently located. They'll be sized for the population, and they'll be all accessible. There are also plenty of toilets for staff that are separate, and male and female toilets. And I'm not sure what the ed spec said about gender neutral. I don't know, but they're following the ed spec, whatever is said in there.
And then for special ed, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but I believe there was an issue with breakout rooms, and they were having to sit in the hallways or things like that, or special testing. Is there extra space for that, or just rooms that are going to be multi-use?
Yeah, there certainly are. And each of the neighborhoods. In each of the wings, there are those designated spaces, breakouts, special ed, there's staff spaces as well down there. So it's really quite a robust ed spec from what I saw. I can't tell you exactly how many rooms they have, but I did see a lot of reading, special ed, those kinds. And there's also something called skill rooms as well. And there's also something called Stride as well. It's unique to Trumbull. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't memorize this ed spec.
Cheat.
Anyway, any guess?
The Black Box Theater.
Yeah.
Is it just a big flat room?
Yes,
There's
ma'am.
no stepped up spot
N-
for a stage or anything?
No, in this particular case, these black boxes are typically flat floored because they want to be flexible to do a bunch of things. Some performances, they'll actually set up a small platform if it calls for it. But my experience has been, especially at this level, is that they do make best use of the flat floor. What happens is if the architects design the retractable seating, that provides the better sight lines. Oftentimes, they'll just put loose seats on the floor and they'll arrange them in all different ways, and that's how it works. That's just the nature of the black. It's not like a sloped floor auditorium with fixed seats and aisles. That's not what this
I'm just
does.
having a problem envisioning our drama department putting on a play in there.
That's the way the ed specs were written, and that's the way the Board of Ed approves, and that's the way the architects designed it.
Hi there. So if you just want a comparison, Fairchild Wheeler, when it was conceived, they have the black box theater, and it's very similar design, and they bring the stages in and out along with the risers.
Any other questions before I get to the numbers?
I was just going to ask if there were opportunities, and maybe you're already doing this, of shopping this with the teachers in the district, not just with the Board of Education and the committee, but are there opportunities to bring the teachers into the fold?
I'm pretty sure that the educators included teacher representatives at the early discussions. We know from what we've heard from the architecture team that the educators have seen this plan and like it. I don't remember if they actually signed every sheet, but we know that they've been meeting with them,
Okay.
and they're endorsing this plan. We would not have approved it to go to design development had we not heard that from the design team.
Yeah, and the only reason I ask is because we have teachers and educators in this room who I think are offering some really great feedback, and so just making sure we have a way to get that insight.
Yeah, I would definitely let the educators know, and that way they can tell the architectural team, and then they'll talk to us about that. Yeah, Ann.
So part of this, the discussion the original plan did have the gym on the other side, but the concern was the service to the kitchen in terms of like getting the service. They need that wider road, that it wasn't, with the grade and whatever, it would have been more difficult in terms of service, like opening up the service kitchen. I think that was the initial concern, which led to the design here. Jeff Alterman is on the committee too. He does a great job of sort of advocating for the teachers. I forget what he teaches, but he does teach at the middle school.
Math.
Te-
He's math.
He's math. So he does a really good job in terms of so it may not be exactly like going to every single teacher, but I think that Jeff does a good job in terms of speaking for the population. I know he's in contact with Brian at the principal too. They talk a lot. So it just to, they're not keeping everybody in the dark, I promise.
Yes.
And is there going to be a loading dock by the kitchen?
Yes, that's right over here. It's slightly off the page. You can't really read it, but there is a small loading dock, and there's some dumpsters and those kinds of back of house functions over there. They haven't fully developed, the screening and the fencing, that's going to be coming. Yeah. Any other questions about the design? Again, you're going to see development over the months. The next time we come, this plan is likely to look a little bit different, and we'll try to address some of those concerns that we heard tonight. Yes, Carl?
Yeah, so give us the numbers in the schedule,
Okay.
please.
Yes. The important part?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all important.
All right, so this is our target construction cost. Okay, this is not the total project budget. Remember the 140-something million? What this represents is what we're anticipating a year from now to get for bids, okay? So we did our first schematic design phase estimate. There were actually two estimating teams, one for Bismarck and one for the architects engineers. It wasn't the architect and engineer that did the estimate, but a consultant of theirs that does a lot of estimating that did the numbers for them. And the two teams came together over a couple of days, compared every line, and then reconciled the estimate based on what they saw on paper, what they think the market is going to be doing a year or so from now. They filled in the blanks on parts of the building that are not designed and engineered yet, like, you know, how much material, soil we're moving around, or what we're going to build for concrete or for steel. So those two teams did a very detailed estimate, several hundred pages each, and then they came together and they agreed that the probable construction cost for this building a year from now would be $126 million. Notice that it's about $8.4 million above the $118 million, okay? Do not be alarmed. This is a fairly large building that's fairly early in the design and a year away from bidding. And quite frankly, construction management teams and estimators tend to be very, very conservative at this early stage in the job. Why? Because they always err on the conservative until they get better information. As we get through the different design phases, at the end of design development, they'll do another one. And then right before we go to bid, we'll do another one just to see what the market is going to tell us. Okay, so do not be alarmed. But what we did do is we did what normally happens is we looked at some value management options to bring the price or the cost, the anticipated cost, back in line with the budget. And so with the committee and the design team, we found about $6.4 million of potential savings, which is a long list of things, probably about 10 items that we found that were acceptable. There were several that were not acceptable. And what that did is it allowed us to reduce our overage from 8.4 down to 2 million, okay? Which is very small percentage. And what we decided to do is to proceed based on that overage, and that we're going to look for additional savings in the design development phase. And based on that information, based on what we know about the market, based on what we know about the design and the design firm and the history, we authorized Haisu Kim to proceed to design development phase. Okay? But I want to say that we're keeping our eye on that $2 million, and we're going to be looking for ways of bringing those numbers down. And we're going to be challenging our design and engineering team to make sure that that happens. So do not be concerned. We'll be in budget when it's time to get our GMP. Yes, Carl?
Is this just hard construction costs, no soft costs in these numbers?
Yes, so that's a good point. So what you see, these numbers right here represent trade costs plus the CM costs, plus there's contingency money associated with design and with the bid, okay? On top of that, just to give you an example of how much we have for contingency right now, this budget currently bears almost $13 million in contingency. On top of that, the town has an additional $8 million of contingency funds. Okay? So we have $21 million in contingency at schematic design. That gives you a pretty clear indication why we're not worried about that $2 million. Okay? Any questions on the budget or how we got there? No? Okay. Last thing is the schedule. So we are right here. You see there's a couple weeks there of design development, so we're right on time of when we wanted to start design development. The design development bar is going to end right around the end of the year, and at which point the design team in January, the construction management team and the estimators will do another estimate, and we'll come back sometime in early February to give you an update of where we are design and cost-wise. You'll see there's a couple of other bars here. This bar right here is a local approvals bar. So our design team, their intent is to make a submission to get some approvals associated with the project starting in November. They've got about 2 months. They do have some extra time out here if we need it. This long bar here is a very important bar. It has to do with the OSTA permit, which is related to the State Traffic Commission. And there's a super long bar on this thing, even though this is a school that exists and the traffic generator already is on this site and it is a state road, we still have to go through this long process. We're hoping it will not take, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. We're hoping we can do that in half the time, but it has to be done and it has to be completed before we can get approval from the state to allow us to bid the job. So that's why it's there and that's why it's started early. We want to make sure that when it's time to actually get approval on the job, we have it in hand and we're not held up by OSTA. Now, the thing about OSTA is that their staffing has been cut severely, so they're taking a lot longer to get these things done. The other bar here that you see is that estimate bar. There'll be an approval process at the beginning of the year. You see it here. And then we'll go into construction documents. Those are scheduled to be completed around the end of April, at which point we're going to do another estimate, another approval process, and then we're going to ask the state to give us permission to bid the job. Remember, the state is funding the project through a grant program. I think it's around a little bit more than 40%. We're hoping to maximize that, get every nickel we can out of the state for this project, and we're tracking very well for maximizing that reimbursement. Then what we'll be doing is we'll be bidding the project. You see that it's August and September, and then we'll be planning on starting construction right about a year from now. If all things go well, our numbers come in favorably, we get our permissions from the state and from OSTA, we'll be asking you guys to approve our GMP about a year from now. Okay? So that's the schedule. And then, the construction schedule, there's some numbers there, but those are probably going to change as the construction management team takes a closer look at how we're going to build this project. And that's our presentation.
Thank you, gentlemen. Keep up the good work. We'll see you maybe up to the first of the year for another update.
Good night.
Andy, you were really good presentation.
Sorry, so long.
Why would I do that? You expect nothing less from drag me here. Because he likes the way you look. Pretty face. I should go to conference.
She's asleep.
Espresso? No. I mean, the espresso, I'm fading.
Okay, our next update is the Trumbull Mall area market feasibility and land use study presentation. Rena Baclar, Economic Development Director, and our first selectman will present on it.
So before we begin, I just want to tell you all that the actual study is 70 pages long. But don't worry, we're not going over all 70 pages tonight.
Was it line by line?
Line by line, step by step. We're going to go just do an overview for you, just to explain where we are, how we got here. I'm sure a lot of people here probably know because you've been involved in the process already. I know that Carl Bassaro was on the committee that helped to choose the consultant, and many of you probably have been at some of the town committee meetings that we've had along the way, and we really appreciate your participation, because that's how this study became informed, was through our community. And our community's been very involved step by step. The first phase of the study is done, and so that's why we're here, besides some other reasons, to just go over where we are and where we're going. So, but we promise we won't be too long. So, do you want me to continue a little bit?
Yeah, let's just see if this. All right, there. Do it that way.
Okay, so I'm just briefly going to start this off, and then Rena was going to step in here and give you as I said, a quick overview of where we are and where we're going. So just a quick quote from me up here saying that we are repositioning the Trumbull Mall area in a way that moves us from challenge to enormous opportunity. We believe the transformation of this area is one of the most significant economic development opportunities for Trumbull in the region. I'm sure you all know that the Trumbull Mall is still our biggest taxpayer and the biggest employer for the region. So obviously, for many reasons, the Trumbull Mall continues to be extremely important for the town of Trumbull and for the region. And that's certainly one of the reasons why this study has come to be. You know, most communities around the state that, you know, have a mall in their town probably would not have done and conducted a study like this. But we believe, as I just said, how important this mall is to this town, and we need to be able to take the next steps to find there's real potential here with the mall. It's 80 acres, sits right on the Merritt Parkway, and if you continue to read down, it's this actual study area, which is also important that I just want to say, includes the mall, obviously, the mall area, but it also includes from the Merritt Parkway to the Bridgeport line and Main Street and Madison Avenue. So it's an entire area of development, not just the mall. It's very important. Rita will go into a little bit more of an explanation of that. So Again, the vision for what we have here now was established by, again, the stakeholder groups. That was, all of the people who came to speak from the community and sharing their concerns and what they're looking for this property to be envisioned and to turn into in the future. Again, there's also lease covenants on the property, infrastructure improvements, and real estate potential that has all been examined in detail up to this point. In August of this year, just a couple months ago, the Planning and Zoning Commission adopted some new regulations, zoning regulations. That's very important to the future of this mall area. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the plan itself. So the next phase is actually taking the vision and opportunity to the marketplace. And I know you probably all know at this point, the mall is in receivership. And there is a new company, managing the mall and making some real changes to it. And those changes, cleaning up the mall, there's a lot of potholes, there's a lot of furniture inside that's been changed. The air conditioning has been fixed in the mall finally. So all of those changes obviously are important to the potential future of the mall. So we do have a new management company. Rena will speak to that as well in a few minutes. So just quickly, there is a potential here, and you'll see in this study, for a 1.1 million square feet of new development on the site. So that's very important to the future of this area. And this new development represents approximately $10 million in new revenue to Trumbull annually over time. Obviously, that's not happening tomorrow. It's not happening in another year, but we hope, again, in the future, as this plan goes to the marketplace, and there's already interest in people wanting to look at this and buy this mall, and Rena, again, will speak to that. So that is a potential in the future, but very important to the town of Trumbull, obviously. $10 million in revenue is obviously what we're all looking for, additional revenue for the town to help all the taxpayers of Trumbull. So the area will provide new jobs, amenities for residents, visitors to the area, and this, again, is a collective effort. And what's really important, and what we all should be standing for, and everything we do, is working together to make this transformation. This is about the betterment of the mall, and that definitely translates to the continued betterment of our community. So with all that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Rena and let her continue.
Thank you. Bear with me here. I don't have glasses on. So, the study was done to unpeel all the complexities. We needed to really understand what was going on in this area, and particularly on the mall proper property. And I'll talk about those complexities in the next slide. But the vision that's laid out in the study, we say we're stubborn on the vision, okay, which is to take a big plot of property, which in my opinion has been underperforming for decades, not just recently, but it's declined further, as we all know, since the retail apocalypse and COVID. But to transition that area to really a mixed-use, vibrant district that is a live, work, play district where you would see more entertainment, recreation, still retail. Retail is still viable in the area. There's an appended study right up on that to the back of the study. Maybe healthcare, other industries, again, recreational uses, and so forth. We could even see innovative type uses potentially there over time in the future. So we're stubborn on the vision, flexible on the details. The plan was laid out to have an understanding of what the potential is and what would need to be dealt with to unlock that potential. But if someone came in and said, well, you show the grocery potential, a grocer here. No, these are concepts, and these are real estate areas, parcels that could be developed. So the Planning and Zoning Commission will continue to have significant oversight as to what happens in the area. Despite the rezoning that we did rezoning for the Main Street corridor, which did not go to a full-blown commercial type of zoning because the residents spoke loudly against that, but took the existing overlay zone that was a professional office overlay zone and beefed it up for a little bit, to allowing more coverage and a little bit more lot consolidation to try and spark some new redevelopment along that area that is compatible to this district that we're trying to create and not necessarily competitive to it. We also, the rezoning on the mall property, adopted this study as the guiding master plan for the area. It allowed for more as-of-right uses and an easier pathway. It allowed for some new uses on the site, including up to 200 units of senior housing with 10% affordable and some other uses that weren't spelled out before. There's a number of other smaller type things laid out in the zoning memo that you can revisit when you review the study. We're going to continue to engage all stakeholders along the way. This is a long process. We're talking about redeveloping and really re-envisioning an entire area of town. So, is this the Hillcrest plan? No, I'm just kidding. When I was looking at that, I was getting confused earlier. This is a concept that shows the mall proper intact. Well, you're not going to show the mall with JCPenney chopped off if it's still operating, but there could be a point in the future if something like that changed that another development area could become available. But at this point, this shows changing that ring road to almost streetways, sort of like the Hillcrest presentation was talking about main streets through the school campus. Well, it's actually a similar concept that creates streetways and allows us to unlock some area for infill development for some of those uses that I just mentioned. So it also shows an integration of the new areas with the mall proper. It shows some public space. It shows changes in the access roads in and out. And all of this is discussed in full detail in the study. This area, the development areas outlined here represent an ability to add over 1.1 million square feet of commercial development to the site. This is a summary. There's a full economic analytics assessment in the back of the study that backs up all of these numbers. But in looking at what we had here in phases, if development sites were to trigger off development potential in a certain sequence or out of sequence, this is kind of what could potentially happen, how much it would be valued at, what it would produce in taxes, one-time revenues, temporary construction jobs, spin-off activity from those jobs and that investment, permanent jobs and spin-off activity for that. So there's significant economic data here. That data also allows us to understand how to leverage some other kinds of resources into this area, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So where are we in this process? We're setting the stage for transformation. We don't control the property, but we can influence the process. We can influence the value of the area. And that's very important when the area may come for sale again, that whoever's looking at it sees value and helps us hold that value. We have already set the zoning so that they know that the town is serious, okay? So currently, Vicki alluded to ownership. NAMDAR has been in default since March 1st. This is in court. There's been a receiver appointed. Tri-Guild is the receiver. And they have also appointed a new management company, Centennial, who owns the Connecticut Post Mall. They are managing and taking care of leasing and property. Centennial and Tri-Guild are associated companies. They have some shared ownership. I just thought I'd let you know that. We've been working very closely with both. I've been in touch with both. I've been in touch with all of the debt holders over the past almost year and a half, maybe closer to 2 years now. I have to say that our relationship with Centennial has been going very well. They're very responsive. They're trying to make some improvements on the property. We all know there's a long way to go there, but they have made some visible improvements. The property is definitely cleaner. They've hired a director of security. They've gotten rid of some security. They're adding additional security. They've hired a cleaning crew. They've fixed some of the potholes around. They've fixed some of the landscape up. They've put in some new landscaping. They've painted some sections of the exterior or power washed certain sections. They need more to do, don't get me wrong. They've improved some of the furnishings inside and some other things. There's a long way to go, but they have started to make definite improvements. They had to put close to $500,000 into the air conditioning system, which was a nightmare that was neglected for years. When the study was done, it really looked at the covenants within the major tenant leases and what kinds of restrictions were involved there. And there's significant restrictions about things that can happen on the site. So we had to understand that. From talking with groups around the country that are demalling and moving toward sort of mixed-use dynamic districts, they advise to get ahead of this, Rena, get on the phone with all of these heads of real estate for all these major tenants, and which I have done and have been doing on an ongoing basis. Let them know all about this vision, this study, hear what they have to say, understand where they're at in the process. So Macy's, Target, JCPenney, I've been in touch with the heads of real estate regularly with all of those groups. They're excited about transformation in the area. Of course, they're going to want to protect their interests, okay? But we do have a dialogue, and we're going to continue that dialogue. Absent that dialogue, what's happened around the country is some of these major tenants have tried to stop redevelopment plans because they weren't included. Their interests weren't being properly, I suppose, protected in their opinion. So we're trying to get on the front end of this, keep the dialogue going, understand, make sure we're all talking together, to the point where Macy's said to me, the head of real estate for Macy's said to me, Rena, if there's somebody new coming to town and they want to talk to us about our interest in this property transforming and this concept, you can put them in touch with us. We'll support it. That's very helpful. Raising interest and opportunity in the market. We didn't even wait for the study to be done because as we were doing community meetings and press was getting picked up, calls started rolling in from various interested folks. We started reaching out. Now that the study's done, we're reaching out more and more. We have sat down with multiple people that have an interest in potentially purchasing the mall, should it come for sale, potential tenants, potential hotels, potential senior housing developers, potential grocer-type users for the site. And educational institutions that have an interest in the overall development of the site into something more dynamic that they feel supports their universities in the area. So we've been talking with a number of folks. Right now, the property, there is not a broker yet assigned to shop the mall. Today, I was speaking with one of the debt holders that has the most to say in this process because they're the junior debt holder. They have the most to lose, so to speak. They told me they're close to selecting a broker. As soon as they do, they'll put the broker in touch with me. We'll meet. We'll talk about who's reached out to me. We're going to talk to them about the zoning, the plan, everything, so that they understand what's been put in place to lay the groundwork and create this value and an attraction to the site. And then we're going to also hear from them, because I know from the people I've been talking to that people are reaching out to them directly already. This has hit once something goes into foreclosure and there's press about it and that kind of thing, it gets out there in the world of shopping, retail plaza owners, developers, that kind of thing. On a parallel track to all of this, we're also looking at what potential is there for public investment down the line, what resources are there, what do we have to do to position ourselves for those resources. So we will be doing, and this is something Vicki will be talking with some of the leadership here and on some of the other boards and commissions about, we're looking at a date probably in mid-November or sooner to have an educational session on the Connecticut Development Authority and tax incremental financing districts. This is no commitment to either of those things. We have to bring the Connecticut Development Authority application to this body separately under a resolution, and we will do that, but it's an education process. So David Kors, who runs the Connecticut Development Agency, I'm sorry, I'm tired. Thank you. He is going to be speaking at our educational session that we're going to host, and also Mike Freemuth, who is in charge of the Capital Area Redevelopment Authority and has led many areas in economic development. He's going to be participating to talk about tax incremental financing districts, and we also may bring in an attorney to supplement that discussion as an educational opportunity. These are opportunities for public investment to be leveraged into a private redevelopment of an area, and there's a lot of groundwork that has to be laid. Part of what we needed to look at for the tax incremental financing discussion are the economic analytics that we did that associate with the study that show what the potential is to spin out in terms of revenue over time as development occurs. So we have some insight to that. The Connecticut Development Authority required that the rezoning be passed prior to our application, and again, a council resolution needs to accompany that and some other paperwork. So that's all in the process to look at potential future public investment for redevelopment. I am also watching grants and other kinds of things for the Main Street corridor. We'd like to see sidewalks, safer walkways connecting into that new vibrant area that will evolve over time, and crosswalks and all of those kinds of multimodal access that needs to be improved there. So we'll be looking at that. I am already looking at that. So what resources do I have to work with? Certainly my office, the Stantec consulting team, thanks to everyone here and their subcontractors, have a small budget to continue with us into the phase 2, which is taking to the market this stuff, going to the market. The Connecticut Development Authority, if we become members, they have a technical assistance arm that's very, very strong. So we would have that resource. I have an MBA team working with me. I've hosted a number of MBA teams over the years for their capstones, but I have this phenomenal MBA team this year. They have been conducting focus groups at Sacred Heart to talk about what kinds of recreational uses, ideas the students would want, the faculty would want to see in such a district. And also they are going out and they're developing lists of these really cool like recreational franchises, amenities, developments around the country that we can talk to, and they're going to actually be talking and visiting with some of them. So they're doing a great job, and maybe at some point they can come and visit with the council. I don't know if that's allowed, but we can talk about that in the future. And then other supporters and ambassadors. We have to build an army of people that are behind us, that are helping us discuss the future of this area. We don't control it, but we can influence it, and we have to influence it from multiple places in multiple pressure points, and that is what we're doing. Just earlier today, First Selectman Tesoro and I were at the Bridgeport Regional Business Council Board of Directors meeting. We did a similar update and presentation to them and talked to them about being ambassadors for this transformation. Because many of them also deal in development and other things. If they know of people that want to talk to us about this area and what's happening and what the opportunities are, we ask them to be part of our army to do so as well. Oops, I went backwards. All right, I'm sorry, I can't see. Why isn't it going? Let's see. So there is a full report. It has all the zoning memos. It has the economic analytics and some other things appended to it in full. We hope you'll look at it. I think it's very important that we're all conversant. And again, the study is a vision. The details can change out a bit. We have to be market responsive. We have to be able to understand the dynamics of a changing environment around us and be able to adapt. So I'll pause there, and I guess if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them, or First Selectman Tesoro. would be happy to take them.
Good, Ms. Malazzi, go ahead.
Rita, you mentioned being at a Bridgeport Regional Business Council meeting today, I think you said, because that was one of the first things I was thinking is, are you collaborating with your counterpart in Bridgeport? Because I think that data of what that community is looking for in shopping and experiential opportunities is really important.
So we're lucky to have Kate Hanford here with us today, and she is a very influential member of the Regional Business Council Board. We talked today in that about Stratford and Bridgeport and Fairfield and the stakeholders around us and how to compel them. And I meet with my colleagues, my counterparts quarterly. We each host each other once a quarter in our communities. We're very closely linked, and how to inspire those other towns to be a part of this in a way, support it. We have some jobs data about who works here. The majority of people who work in this mall do live in Bridgeport, but they do come from Trumbull, Shelton, Monroe, all of the surrounding towns, Fairfield, Stratford. So it is an employment hub. And not only is it the people that work here, there's a lot of vendors that work for the mall too, and they come from the greater Bridgeport area as well. And it's not just jobs, it's the amenities for the region. And to make this area more of a destination, you know, it draws, the more people we're drawing to the region, the better. So we have some work to do to really dig in with them, but the conversations are starting and are underway. That's a great question. Thank you.
So just a quick question. I understand we started off and we all see that retail and spaces in malls is difficult to sustain. Given that the culture of this town is really a family-oriented town, thinking about comparisons like Chelsea Piers, thinking about places that add vibrancy and attract families, is there a way to influence less housing, less retail, and more vibrancy to activities and family community type events?
Oh, absolutely. The first selectman has talked to me about Chelsea Piers any number of times. We do know the people that were behind that. There is one person that is associated with that group, wasn't directly on Chelsea Piers, but does other work with them that has met with me regarding this entire property. And our MBA students are doing a road trip down there, and that's on their list. But one of the things the students so far have been saying is there's no turf to practice on I don't know anything about, I know nothing about athletics, but I'm just saying I don't have the full report yet, but they're telling me there's no turf to practice on, like a Chelsea Piers, I guess, has that. I haven't been yet, I'm going to visit. And it gets rented out and leased out for different practices and stuff, and brings people to an area, and then other things crop up around it. So, you know, it's certainly that thinking is definitely on the, you know, on the radar. It was interesting when the retail study, so, you know, there's currently about there's about 1 million square feet of retail active on the site. And I'm thinking before the study started, that can't be viable. Like, what could be viable? Maybe 500,000, whatever. But it was interesting. We had a national expert do the retail analysis. And that amount of retail plus maybe a little bit more is viable in different ways and different constructs. And part of it is, how does it work in an old, you know, structure, and how do you rethink it? So it doesn't mean we won't reduce some of the retail over time. Like I mentioned, if JCPenney as a company, the store in Trumbull is actually profitable, but the company has its ups and downs, just like Lord & Taylor. You had a profitable store in Trumbull, but the company shut down, you know? So if that were to go, that would be an interesting area to think about, you know, some of the kinds of things we're talking. Push some of the retail to the front that's really good retail, to the front of the mall, and then what can you do with the back half, and how to start to rethink that. The problem is when stuff's leased out, you can't really, you know, you got to be really careful how you do this without getting people very, very adversarial.
So toggling on to what Mr. Dorsey said, obviously working with the MBA students is genius, and they've got a lot of fresh perspectives. I'm almost thinking of even going further downstream with that and maybe developing like a teen advisory council or something, because I happen to have kids that go to that mall every single weekend, right? So to know what they're looking for and what kinds of experiences, like iFly, right? Like indoor skydiving, you know, things like that are some things that, because some of us in this room have teenagers. There's almost nothing for teenagers to do in this
Yeah.
town, right? So maybe going to the high school and commiserating with some of the business school students or something might be a great way to get some fresh perspectives.
I think Gia would love that. She has gone on, Gia works in our office, and I've put her on that board that's at the high school, the Business Education Board. She just started. And this might be a nice idea to mix that. I'm not sure yet, but I'll check that out. It's a great idea. Thank you.
Are we good?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
I would just implore upon all of you, please go and look at the study online, because it is 70 so pages long. There's great pictures in there. Pictures are worth 1,000 words, they say, as to what this could look like. And yeah, Anthony, I'm a big fan of Chelsea Piers. I think something like that is, thinking a little bit outside the box, and it would bring, so many people into so many different options at Chelsea Piers. Not only sports, there's other things there as well. Something like that would be great. So, people in Trumbull, and I said this earlier today, with the traffic issues on 95 and the Merritt Parkway, people don't want to hop on those roads and take a trip down to Stanford. It would be great if it was right here in Trumbull. So those are the ways we're thinking. Thank you.
Give me a minute to get you on. Okay, without objection, I'd like to take item 3 out of order. It's Resolution TC 30-170. Mr. Colohan, could you bring that to the floor, please?
TC 30-170, be it resolved that First Selectman Vicky A. Tesoro be and the same is hereby authorized to enter into a certain host municipality fee agreement between the town of Trumbull, Connecticut and AC Trumbull LLC. Copy attached.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Lenzen. You have the committee report on that?
Resolution TC 30-170, moved by Malazzi, seconded by Lenzen. Town Attorney Shopik explained the attached agreement is because AC Trumbull LLC has purchased the digital complex. The state of Connecticut will get certain tax breaks to AC, will get certain tax breaks to AC Trumbull if the town of Trumbull indicates they are in favor of this happening. AC Trumbull LLC will be investing $200 million in the building. They will still pay the real property and personal property taxes, so there is no loss to the town. There will be a tremendous influx of construction and fit up for the town. The town is very much in favor of this. Vote motion carried by unanimous consent.
Thank you. Rena Bakalar is here. If there's any questions on this resolution? Any questions or discussion? Attorney Shopik, you have something to add?
I think the committee report said it all. It's a long agenda. You don't want me to go through it again, do you?
No, not at all. My only question for Ms. Bakalar is whether you need emergency legislation on this.
Actually, it probably would help us to do that. Thank you.
Okay.
Motion for emergency legislation.
Not yet. We didn't pass the resolution yet. Hang in there. Okay, any discussion on the resolution itself? Hearing none, can we adopt it by unanimous consent? Thank you. Is there a motion to make it emergency legislation?
Here.
Second.
Ms. Cologne, second. Ms. Lenzen? All right. Whatever the clerk got. Okay, we all in favor of the motion? We can adopt that by unanimous consent? All right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you need a break? Okay. I'd like to take, just keep going in succession, Resolution TC 30-171. Ms. Winchell, could you bring that to the floor, please?
Certainly. Resolution TC 30-171. Be it resolved and ordained that the Emergency Medical Services Personnel Tax Abatement Ordinance adopted by Resolution TC 19-85 and Resolution TC 19-244 are hereby repealed and replaced pursuant to the provisions of CGS 12-81W. Full resolution attached.
Second.
Thank you. Committee report, Mr. Pifko.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Massaro explained last month the council enacted the exemption for firefighters. The question was asked about an exemption for EMS because it's the same authorizing legislation with the state. This is the resolution for the EMS workers. It mirrors exactly the ordinance passed last month and is the prescribed benefit from the state statute. Section 4 of Part 1 can be deleted, which has to do with finance and other municipalities. Part 1 deals with resident and volunteers. That provision in Part on is not needed. Motion was carried by unanimous consent.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Pifko. I think there was also an indication that the tax impact was about $50,000. Ms. Pyrus?
Yes, Maria Paya stated the tax impact before this was $50,000, but this will change to $2,000. It was requested that if it is easy to do, she would bring that to Monday.
Hi, all volunteers get an abatement between the fire districts and also EMS volunteers. And currently, we paid out $42,000, and the additional amount will be another $35,000 for a total of $77,000, approximately.
Okay, thank you. So, sum and substance, the EMS tax benefit it was on the books. We're increasing it based on the statutory allowance to do so. Ms. Katsky?
I just wanted to let you know that Chief Colin Bassett is here, EMS Chief. If anyone has any questions related to the volunteers or anything else, he's here.
Thank you. And again, would you like to come forward?
Sure. Hey, Colin Bassett again. If anybody has any questions on that, just I'm here, so you know. And if not, that's cool too. I'll just go sit down.
Yeah, no. So, every day we hear your ambulances, rushing up the street to help our citizens. So we do appreciate that. We do know here at the council, we just funded a labor agreement with your staff who are not volunteers. And so obviously we felt strongly that all our first responders should be benefited to the extent the state legislature allows us to do that. So here we are.
And we are very appreciative.
Any questions for Mr. Bassett? Mary?
I just feel bad because nobody's asking you a question, and you sat here. No, I know it varies, but how many volunteers do you typically have, or what's your mid-range?
Yeah, so it does vary greatly. We have kind of a core group of volunteers that have been here for 10 years and longer. Some of them were sort of the initial founding members of Trumbull EMS. They're still around, and we tend to have a pretty constant ebb and flow of the high school and college age volunteers that they come when they can during their summer breaks or vacations or while they're in high school. But the primary, the staff that is on the road answering ambulances, they are the paid staff, and volunteers will act as kind of a third, help out with special events. So it's hard to put an exact number on it because we do have kind of that sort of influx. There's probably a few dozen on the books. Active ones, like I said, the majority of the ones that we see pretty frequently and regularly are a lot of those college students, and they come and go. Some stay. We've got a few of our full-time staff now started off as volunteers, moved into per diem roles, and are now in full-time roles and go on to become paramedics and are still working for us full-time. So that's definitely a career path for some, not all. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Bassett. The chair recognizes the friendly amendment from the committee to delete Section 4 of Part 1. Is there such a motion? Mr. Marsh?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? I think the minutes were clear. Can we adopt that motion by unanimous consent? Okay, we have the resolution as amended. Any further discussion, questions, or comments? Can we adopt the resolution as amended by unanimous consent? Mr. Marsh?
Do we have to call for a public hearing on this?
I'm sorry, yes, we do. Before we finish the job, I will open the public hearing at 9:25 and ask if there's any members of the public who would like to speak about this particular proposal, now that you've heard all the nuts and bolts. All right, if there is no comment, then I will close the public hearing at 9:26. And now we can vote on the resolution as amended. Can we adopt it by unanimous consent?
Yes.
Any objections? Okay, it is so adopted. Thank you. We'll move to item 5, Resolution TC 30-172. Mr. Wolf, would you bring it to the floor, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution TC 30-172. Be it resolved and ordained that the local option property tax exemption for disabled veterans, their spouses, and children is hereby approved. Full resolution attached.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Pifko, do you have a brief report on that?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Town Attorney Mr. Shopik explained there are 2 proposed ordinances on the agenda. The one that follows this one provides exemptions for the surviving spouses of disabled veterans who reside in the town. That is something that is referred to in the state statute. There is a municipal authorization to provide this benefit, and that's what was initially put forward. Some of what is in the resolution is basically mandated by the state. We don't need to recite the state statute because the assessor's office follows it. Rather than confuse and put statutory language in it, an ordinance, and if the legislature changes it next year, we will still have an ordinance that says one thing and the statute that says something different. Chairman Massaro and Attorney Shopik are going to attempt to meld the 2 resolutions together to have one ordinance for tonight's meeting so that the full council can adapt the local options it chooses. Attorney Tom Lee, a member of Post 141 American Legion, as well as 1059 VFW, life member of both organizations, was present and recommended that the council enact this. It was a disappointment to most of the veterans last year when the legislature only enacted to cover veterans' dwellings. Before that, there was the exemption that would be, the expectation that it would cover all the property. I understand this year that the legislature was going to enact it and just added it to the requirement that it is also to be to the land, the real property in which the dwelling sat. And it didn't come out that way. It left it up to the municipality to pick up the real property issue. The last time he talked to someone who would be in the know about it would benefit 12 to 14 totally disabled veterans in Trumbull. The motion was carried by unanimous consent.
Thank you, Mr. Pifko. So we have a few folks that will speak to this evening. I do want to thank Attorney Shopik and Cindy Katsky from the First Selectman's office and Lynn Ormsby from the Assessor's office. We did put our heads together for a few hours last week, in part to understand the state authorization and another to try to get that authorization into a cohesive form. Just a very short backdrop. There's a lot of state legislation on veterans benefits. Some come mandated on municipalities. We're not here for any of that, and don't ask me what it is. Others are called local options, and what we are going to present tonight is an amalgamated ordinance that adopts all of the local options from the legislature that was given to us this past year. I think all council members got a draft of it. And with the great assistance of Lynn Ormsby from the assessor's office, we got it into a final form. Lynn, did you want to come up? So before you speak, I would just say in a nutshell, the local options are that we're dealing with total disabled veterans. The legislature had not acted to assist their spouses and children. Gave us a local option to do so. That's in this ordinance. They added 2 acres of land to their personal dwelling. You'll have to ask folks in Hartford why they stopped at 2 acres. I'm not going to guess, but that's a local option, which we also intend to adopt. You have total disabled veterans and unemployable. There is a section there for benefits in that scenario. Also extending all of these benefits to surviving spouses, and then another additional item where Gold Star surviving spouses are given the benefit of their veteran. So, Lynn, thank you for helping put the final version together and doing numbers and so forth, and I'll give you the floor.
Okay. Well, I guess before I begin, does anyone have any questions?
So I just want to start off before my question. I was moved by what Ray Baldwin said about the impact of this. 3 years ago, my father lost his battle against fighting the side effects of Agent Orange. He was a Vietnam vet. So this is near and dear to my heart, and I'm very grateful for all the support he got from the Veterans Group, from the VA, from his local support. My question, and you may get to this, is when we look at the total cost of this, what is any incremental cost that we just need to know before we vote on this?
Yeah, okay, yes. So I'll start out, I broke it down by 100% P&T, and then I also broke it down by 100% P&T, adding in the TDIUs. Those are the ones that get basically the 100% eligibility based on unemployability. Okay, so if you look at the dwelling only, the revenue loss for the 100% P&T would be 109,960. Adding in the land, you're at 230,091, so 230,091. And if you go with the median assessment, it would be 227,545. If we add in the TDIUs, the dwelling it jumps to 132,777, so roughly another 23,000. Land and dwelling is 270 versus the 230, 786, and then the median assessment would go to 258,574. The number of 100% P&Ts that we have estimated for 2025 grand list, so far it could change, is 22. The number of permanent and total disabled vets that also have the TDIU classification is 3. So we have about, of the 22, we have 10 that served in Vietnam, 14 in the Persian Gulf, and 1 in Operation Earnest Will. So I don't know if there's any more questions that you have other than what I just presented.
Anybody have questions? I do want to add that which we have not moved yet to the floor, the proposed ordinance does adopt the limitation on the exemptions to the median assessed value of all residential properties in the town. What was that number, Lynn? Is it
Okay, so with the 100% P&T, it would be 227,545. If you add in the TDIUs, it's 258,574.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Ormsby? I know we have a number of veterans in the audience, including Attorney Lee, who is counsel to the VFW. Sorry. Yes. So before I call the public hearing, there is the proposed revision to this ordinance. Somebody move that to the floor, move to substitute it.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on that motion? And can we adopt that motion by unanimous consent? So, okay. All right, so at 9:35, I will open the public hearing on Resolution TC 30-172. Anybody who would like to speak on this Veterans Exemption Ordinance, welcome to come to the podium and speak now.
You don't have to. I know. It's always nice to say, thank you. Thank you. 100% is a big number. Chris? Unmute. That button. I'm sorry. Thank you and thank you. 100% disability is a huge rating, and that's what you've just enacted for those veterans who have 100% disability. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Commander Bissett.
I'm Graham Bissett. I'm the commander of the VFW in Trumbull. I don't live in Trumbull, but my heart is always in Trumbull. I worked for the town for 23 years, and I just like to say thank you for adopting this, and I'll be glad to tell my membership when we have our meeting this Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander. You can give our heartfelt thanks to all your membership, and I'd say it's the least we can do. Or actually, it's the most we can do under the state law. Almost. Any further discussion? Ma'am?
My name is Sarah Layden, and I am the widow of Jim Grutzmacher, who was 100% service-related disabled. He was in Vietnam. He also died of Agent Orange toxicity. And I wanted to thank you on behalf of both the veterans and the survivors, because the survivors' families are impacted tremendously, and that never ends. So I want to thank you for remembering us as well.
We remember your husband as well. I do.
Thank
He was elected the same year I was initially, 2001. So, good man.
Thank you.
Any other comments? If not, I will close the public hearing at 9:38. Mr. Wolf?
You keep on thanking us, but we need to thank you guys.
All right, so we have the resolution as substituted on the floor. Can we adopt it by unanimous consent? No objections. Thank you. It is adopted. Attorney Shopik, I think the next resolution would be rendered moot.
For sure.
Again, thanks for the hard work getting it together. All right, so
Thank you for your service.
we will keep,
Take it easy.
I guess we'll keep going with number 7, Resolution TC 30-174. Mr. Buswell, can you bring that to the floor, please?
Certainly. Resolution TC 30-174, be it resolved that $2,593 is hereby appropriated from the fund balance to 01060800-584888 capital outlay.
Thank you. Committee report, Mr. Dorsey.
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Maria Pires explained this is a supplemental to close out fiscal year 25 to various accounts. The largest one is the workers' comp claim in the amount of $398,497. There are less claims than other years, but the dollar amounts are higher because of the cost of services and lost time based on the increase in rate. She can get the total amount for a year.
Yeah, I think you're reading the wrong resolution.
No, we do
Wrong-
174.
Number 7.
I'm doing the committee report for 174.
That was 2593.
It says TC 31.
Yes. So this is, okay, hold on.
It's all this account. 170.
I was reading the right one. Yeah. Was it?
The wrong amount.
That's the wrong.
Okay.
One above it.
Call the meeting and then reversing it.
Here it is. This is here. Okay, 25.9. Okay, thank you. Kate Donahue, chairman of the TCTV Commission, was present and explained there was $29,144 approved in the fiscal year 26 budget for capital expenditures, which replaced the servers that run the TCTV system. Between the time the budget was approved and a couple weeks ago, the router went down. The supplemental appropriation fills the gap. It can be purchased together in one package. This was not expected. They planned for the router for the next fiscal year, but it failed sooner than anticipated. Kate Donahue noted the router is an AJK KUMO 1616 compact 12G-SDI router. Emergency legislation requested and does not anticipate additional spending. Vote, motion carried. It was amended by Sather, seconded by Satin, to amend the account to read 581888. Vote, motion carried unanimous. Vote, motion carried as amended unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Kate Donahue is here. Any
Hi,
questions?
everybody.
Something to add?
No.
Okay.
Unless you have questions.
Any questions for Kate Donahue? I think we need to fix that server.
I do need this as emergency legislation, though.
I knew there was one.
Yeah, because we're trying to, it's going to be tough to get it here in time for election night, but I want to take a shot at it. So
Sure,
we can do
sure.
emergency legislation, that would be appreciated.
Any questions? Mr. Marsh?
I apologize, Mr. Dorsey. In reading your committee minutes, do we have to amend the account number?
It was amended in committee. I'll just make sure. We will have to amend it, yes, here as well.
So then I would move to, I'll raise the amendment if you could just read the appropriate account number, please.
Certainly, it is 581888.
Second.
Are we all in favor? Thank you. No objections, abstentions. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
We've got the amendment and the resolution as amended. We adopt by unanimous consent. All right.
I move for emergency legislation.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor? Any objections? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move to item 8, I believe, resolution TC 30-175. Ms. Winchell, would you read that? Bring that to the floor, please.
Sure. Resolution TC 30-175. Be it resolved that $423,877 hereby appropriated from the fund balance to various accounts. Schedule attached.
Second.
Through the chair, can we just sort of figure out what these resolution numbers actually are? Because they don't match to what we're reading from our minutes. And I know that we muted what's on tonight's agenda for TC 3173. I we decided it was a moot point because we had done it already. But I just want to make sure if we have to refer back to these in 15 years that we have the right numbers for the right resolutions.
So this is 175.
It is definitely 175. Okay, so when he reads the minutes, he's going to read 174, but it's 175. Okay.
Yes.
I just think it's important for it to be clear
Yeah.
moving forward. That's okay. Well, I think because we did skip over one tonight, so it kind of misaligned everything.
Yeah, as long as the resolutions are numbered correctly, I think we'll be good. But thanks for pointing that out. All right. Did we get a committee report on that?
Sure,
Dorsey?
I can start reading again.
Summarize it.
Maria Pyrus explained this is supplemental to close out fiscal year 25 to various accounts. The largest one is the workers' comp claim in the amount of $398,497. There are less claims than other years, but the dollar amount are higher because of the cost of services and lost time based on the increase in rate. She can get the total amount for a year and report back. This is about the same as other years, about $1 million in claims. This is not easy to budget for because it is based on many unknowns, how many surgeries there will or how many claims will settle. Maria Pyrus will check with CIRMA, the third-party administrator, of what might be in the future and report back to the council. The early voting appropriation was due to the need for additional at the library for the voting session. The state did reimburse some. Whether there will be future reimbursements is an unknown at this time. When animal control is short-staffed and the animal control officer has to come in at night or on the weekends, she is paid overtime. Vote motion carried unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. Any questions on this?
I think we just have a follow-up. There's a follow-up request from Maria on just some of the amounts.
I have a report from CIRMA. So for 24-25, there were about 168 claims. 33 are still open and 135 are closed. Of those 168, there's 91 that are incidents only, so they're most likely will just be closed at some point unless there's a permanency. Medical only, that means they just went to the doctor, took care of it, and no other issues. And the other ones, they had some lost time, about 34 of them. It's approximately $1 million each year just on claims. Any other
Thank you, Ms. Pyrus. Anything else on this resolution? All right, can we adopt it by unanimous consent? Thank you. It's so adopted. Move to our next item.
Can it be emergency legislation so we can close the year? All of these three should be emergency legislation. Please.
Okay.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Unanimous consent, thank you. All right, let's move to the next one, TC 30-177. No, 176, sorry. Mr. Colohan, would you move that to the floor, please?
Resolution TC 30-176 be it resolved that $275,927 is hereby transferred from the contingency to various accounts, schedule attached.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maria Pyrus explained this is a transfer to contingency to cover settlements on the contracts. There were a couple of contracts settled, the MAKE contract, and the largest one was Public Works and Parks. Those are the largest ones because they were 3-year contracts. It was confirmed this transfer is in the budget in the contingency line item. Vote motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion on it? If not, can we adopt the resolution by unanimous consent? So adopted. Do we need a motion for emergency legislation?
Second.
Adopted by unanimous consent? Yes, thank you. We'll move on to resolution TC 30-177. Mr. Mecca, you want to bring that to the floor, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Resolution TC 30-177, be it resolved that $206,900 $56,930 is hereby appropriated from the fund balance to account number 0103-0101-501105, salaries, overtime, $52,478, and 0103-0101-534402, program supplies, $154,452.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey.
Maria Pyrus explained this is a supplemental for the snowstorms. We budget a certain amount for the snow removal and overtime. We had several small storms during the year, and most of those were over the weekend that created the overtime. Overtime is for labor and supplies, and supplies is for the sand. The committee requested the Public Works Director to come to the full council to give more details on the supplemental.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All right, hearing none, can we adopt the resolution by unanimous consent? Thank you. So adopted. Any?
He's been waiting all night.
Come on down.
Anybody want to talk to me?
Come on.
We believe you.
How are we looking for this winter?
Well, to be honest with you, last winter was a rough winter. Oh, sorry. Last winter was a rough winter. As you know, Rich Infante, Director of Operations for Trumbull Public Works. There were a lot of little storms. We're heading into more of ice storms than snowstorms as the temperatures change and our climate changes a little bit, which is much more difficult for us to manage. We use a lot of salt to manage these storms to keep it safe for the public to get, out on the roads and get where they have to be. We actually, one of the issues over the last winter, 24 to 25, was that we were here 6 Sundays and 2 holidays plowing snow. So Public Works was out there, and it gets very expensive when you're plowing on holidays. It's double time Sundays also. So the dollars rack up, but public safety can't be compromised. Also, we did use a substantial amount of salt keeping up with all this. We kept the salt shed. We stayed ahead of the curve because we were able to purchase salt throughout the winter. Much better shape than other municipalities, which almost ran out, but we kept our stockpiles stocked up so we can keep the roads safe for everybody. We actually just put another 900 tons of salt in our salt shed to get ready for this winter because I'm thinking it may be bad. So we're getting ready for that right now. Stocking up on plow blades, studded tires, everything that we need to make it through the winter to get you guys to Starbucks to get your coffee.
If I may digress,
Sure.
you have surfaced some roads under the pavement preservation program with oil and stone.
Correct.
Supposed to be a top coat to that.
Yep. Absolutely. Today it started. Tomorrow it should be done by the end of the day.
They did Oakland today.
Yep. Tomorrow we'll do Ridgeview, the rest of Clemens, Randall, and we'll finish up Wedgewood and Meadow Road West. The sand will be on the ground for about a week. Depending on what we get for weather, we're supposed to get maybe a brush from a tropical storm on Sunday sometime. So we'll get out there and clean the roads up probably in about a week or so. Let that sand sit on the roads, and you should have a very nice finished product. That gives you that whole section of Trumbull that's going to be paved. We paved the worst roads in the bunch, and then we did pavement preservation on the roads that were much better, had a good profile, had the ability to extend the road life out for, not a very substantial amount of money. Pavement preservation is relatively cheap to get another 8 or 10 years out of the roads.
Yeah. Well, it looks like a nice, neat job. You live in that area. And
Our contractors are excellent in all the work they do, the paving work, even pavement preservation. They're all professional, so they come in and they do a great job for us.
Great. Well, thank you very much. All right, can we adopt the resolution by unanimous consent?
Yep.
Okay, and no objections. Adopted. We need a motion for emergency legislation.
So moved.
Adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you. Item 11, Resolution TC 30-178. Mr. Pifko, you want to bring it to the floor, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Resolution TC 30-178. Be it resolved that $26,559 is hereby appropriated from fund balance to various accounts. Schedule attached.
Second.
All right, do we need the committee report?
I'm fine to waive it.
Any questions for Maria Pyrus on this one? All right, hearing none, can we adopt the resolution by unanimous consent? No objections, it's adopted. Is there a motion for emergency legislation?
Second.
Thank you. Adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you. We'll go back to the beginning. Item 1, wherever it is, I can't find it. This is Resolution TC 30-168. Ms. Cologne, would you bring it to the floor, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Resolution TC 30-168, be it resolved that Joanne Glasser Ornstein, being the same, is hereby reappointed as a member of the Trumbull Day Commission for a term extending to September 2nd, 2030.
Second.
All right, thank you. We all know Joanne. This is a reappointment. Can we adopt this by unanimous consent? Thank you. So adopted.
Can I?
You may.
Sorry. It has nothing to do with Joanne, except that that night I looked her square in the eye and said, we served on the committee in 2008, and I did not serve on the Trumbull Day Commission in 2008. I served on it in 2013, so she was right when she said 12 years, and I added like an extra 10 on. So, Joanne, if you're watching, I'm sorry. And at some point, if we want to correct that, we can. I don't know if it's that important, but when I'm wrong, I like to admit it. So, it was 2013.
Thank you for that confession. All right. I think it takes us to our last item, which is number 2. Resolution TC 30-169. Ms. Isaac, would you bring it to the floor, please?
Resolution TC 30-169, be it resolved that Robert Finn, being the same, is hereby reappointed as a member of the Trumbull Day Commission for a term extending to September 2nd, 2030.
Thank you. Again, a reappointment. Can we adopt this resolution without the committee report and by unanimous consent? Okay, it's so adopted. I think that concludes our action tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Second.
Thank you all.